He's here. Happy Chaos, the gunslinging broken messiah, has just hit the scene. But he's kind of hard to play. So my man has two unique resources that need to be managed and has a gun mechanic instead of a traditional heavy slash. He's the most unique newcomer to the series and can be tough to use because of all the things you have to think about and the PhD you have to have. But even landing his simple stuff in the match can make you feel really good. Which I think is the making of a damn good character, but he's still hard as hell. I would categorize this problem as mental stack overload. The mental stack is how much focus a player can devote to different strategies in a match. It's common that a player will struggle to do seemingly easy tasks because their mind is trying to focus on multiple things at once. For example, a player might be trying to play footsies on the ground while at the same time watching for a jump so they can anti-air, while at the same time trying to hit confirm a basic poke. Each task is doable by itself, but after trying to balance all these tasks for a while, the opponent jumps and they don't anti-air because their mental bandwidth was simply too taxed to handle it. The reason why this applies to Happy Chaos, especially because on top of everyday fighting game stuff, he has to keep track of the number of bullets he has in the chamber and reload those manually, and keep track of how much concentration he has to be able to use those bullets. Like on his own, it's not that bad, right? But it's not easy when you have a Leo trying to run behind you and twerk on you side to side, and a gorilla trying to command grab you into the pavement. So what can you do to beat the mental stack? First thing to do to train your mental stack is to subscribe to the channel and pick up Chip instead. Nah man, I'm just playing. This video is gonna graduate your chaos from scrub to Glock Kage by simplifying the mental stack. In this video, I'm gonna break down 3 essential components to Happy Chaos gameplay that just understanding will make you a better Happy Chaos player. These are going to be win conditions, neutral one-on-one, and foundational offense. First, let's get started with win conditions. I will break Happy Chaos playstyle into 2 different win conditions. The first condition is to try to get your opponent to block one of your attacks while you have full resources in bullets and concentration. This is where Happy Chaos is at its strongest because as long as he has bullets and concentration, he can use heavy slash to shoot in between his moves so that his opponent can never take their turn truly. The way that this works, if done properly, if your opponent attacks, they're going to get counter hitted by the bullet that you shoot. If your opponent blocks too much, they're going to get grabbed because you're close enough to run up after shooting or doing a basic attack. The purpose of the gunshots is to cover Happy Chaos in his recovery animations of his normal moves. An example of this will be Happy Chaos's 2D or sweep move. If it's blocked by an opponent, Happy Chaos is left wide open afterward, in which his opponent can then hit him and take their turn. However, if Happy Chaos has the gun out, he can use a gunshot to then protect himself and to potentially catch his opponent that was trying to mash him on that punishable sweep. This is called a frame trap. This is a frame trap because your opponent thinks that they have an opportunity to press a button, but they don't have a number of frames to be able to get their move out in time, and they're going to get a counter hit instead. With this in mind, don't waste bullets. Happy Chaos has the freedom to shoot anytime that he wants, but if you're shooting during the same time that your attack is coming out anyways, then you're wasting an opportunity to use a bullet later. So get used to using one shot to cover one move at a time rather than spamming shots in between. The second win condition for Happy Chaos is maintaining enough space between you and your opponent so that you can bust out steady aim. Steady aim is a move with heavy guard crush and a good amount of chip damage even when they block it. This makes it so that your opponent has to freeze in place, and if they overcommit, they can take a full combo's worth of damage into overdrive if you have the meter. But what makes steady aim so good is the fact that you're able to cancel that stance into any of Happy Chaos's other special moves. This basically allows you to play a mini game of red light, green light with your opponent because you are forcing them to stand still, but they need to close that distance between you. And the only time they can close that gap is when you either reload or cancel to get your concentration back. If you catch them sleeping at the wheel and either reload or regain your concentration, they're forced to undergo another round of red light, green light. This can cause your opponent to become impatient and to make more mistakes and allow them to get caught by the actual bullets. This playstyle is heavily dependent on you knowing how many gunshots you can get off and also being able to do fast reloads and cancel into super concentration. With this in mind, as a Happy Chaos player, at any given time in the match, one of these two things should be your goal. Cut out everything else that doesn't contribute to one of these two plans. To be a proficient Happy Chaos player, you have to be able to seamlessly switch and play both of these playstyles. This keeps your opponents on their toes mid-match as they don't feel safe when you're up close to them, and they also don't feel safe when you're far away from them. You can decide which win condition to use based off of your playstyle and personal preference and the player and character matchups. Later on in the basic offense section of the video, I'm going to give you some key things that you can practice so you can get the muscle memory down for both of these two win conditions so you don't have to think about it as much in the game. Now that we generally know the win conditions for Happy Chaos, let's now go into neutral to talk about how we can set up those win conditions. Neutral is that awkward situation where you don't have your opponent blocking any of your attacks, so you can't run your pressure yet, but you're also not far enough to bring out steady aim. To grossly simplify this, you should be using Happy Chaos's 2/ to prevent grounded approaches from your opponent. This move is awesome at controlling space as it has a disjointed hitbox that if it collides with your opponent you won't take damage. And also if it's blocked by your opponent you can easily cancel it into a heavy / shot, which allows you the freedom to choose between either of our win conditions, either shooting and then running up and continual pressure using buttons and shooting in between, or canceling that shot directly into steady aim and making your opponent freeze on the spot. Now that you've cut off your opponent grounded approach by using 2/, inevitably there's only a matter of time before they start approaching you from the air using air dashes. Now it's time for you to use Happy Chaos's anti-airs. Now Happy Chaos wasn't blessed with some of the best anti-airs in the game, but they can be reliable. The best ones to go to is going to be your sit/ and your sits-P. The knockback from sit/ is going to set you up perfectly to set up the second game plan of using steady aim because your opponent is now basically full screen from you. Or you can cancel that into 2/3 sit/ or down forward /, which is going to be at the ready. At the ready is going to flick your opponent up in the air, and when it comes to retreating, your back air dash jumping / is going to be great for keeping yourself covered while also creating space between you and your opponent. Now, if you want to be the aggressor and you're approaching from the air, if your opponent is on the ground, you should use your air to ground move, which is going to be your JS also. If your opponent is in the air and you want to meet them in the air, you should be using your JK instead. When it comes to whiff punishing your opponent or punishing a move that has missed on you, you should try using your far / or your sit/ because those moves have the furthest range to make sure that you reach, and then you can use bullets to convert off of that and start running your pressure. Now let's talk about basic offense with Happy Chaos. How I see it, Happy Chaos's 2 command normals serve the purpose of setting you up for your 2 win conditions. Sit/ blows your opponent away, which gives you the space to set up steady aim, as we said earlier, and Sits/K gives you enough active frames and enough block stun for you to now go into your first win condition of using your pressure of heavy / and buttons in between. To simplify this, if you land any move that's not your far / or heavy /, you should really consider going directly into one of your command normals of its respective choice based off of which win condition you need in the moment. For example, if you have no bullets and you land a punch, you should go ahead and confirm into far / so you can get the space you need to reload and set up. You should also be thinking about which win condition to go for while you have your opponent in a combo as well, because you can decide which combo ender to use based off of this also. So for example, if you have them in the regular Happy Chaos bread and butter combo, you can decide to prematurely end that with a far / because of the goal of getting them with the second win condition and getting them full screen. Housekeeping things, using sit slash into curse is a really great tactic for setting up for that second win condition, and also making sure that whenever you land a sweep that you're confirming into either regaining your concentration or reloading a bullet, because if you do it immediately you still have time to meaty or create space. All a meaty is coming up to your opponent as they're getting up and perfectly timing it so that your attack is on top of them as they're getting up. So if they try to throw you, they're going to get hit. If they try to jump, they're going to get hit. If they try to do anything other than blocking, they're going to get hit. To learn and practice meaty timings, all you have to do is knock down your opponent and set their wake up attack to be throw, because that's one of the fastest things that they can do. And what you do is knock them down, walk up to them, and land whatever move you're trying to learn the meaty timing for. If you get hit by the grab instead, that means that you mistimed it. Once you have meaties down, this sets up your basic offense, because now you have a mix up. Instead of going for a meaty, you can knock your opponent down, run up and grab them. They're going to be blocking because they're expecting you to meaty them like you normally do. Something essential to have in your game as a Happy Chaos player, especially when you're doing the first win condition up close, is knowing the 5k, 6k gunshot loop on block. Because this loop uses 6k, which is a command normal, you can essentially start this string off of any stray hit as long as you confirm it into 6k. If you're struggling to open up your opponent with just that loop, you should try running up and grabbing to change up the flow of it, or running up and using dust instead to see if they're blocking it high. If you're still struggling to open up your opponent, now it's time to incorporate roll. A lot of people misunderstand roll and try to use it as a primary offensive option, when really it should be used as an option to promote your opponent to mash more often, to try to interrupt it. Once you get your opponent to start mashing again, anticipating roll, then you can go back to shooting them to get your counter hit because of the frame trap we talked about earlier. A key use for gunshot in the first win condition is also to use it to prevent your opponent from being able to anti-air you. So what you can do is you can pressure your opponent and then use gun to lock them down in place. Use that as an opportunity to jump above them. If they go for an anti-air, because the reticle is on them, you could then shoot them during their anti-air or during their 6p, and you're going to get a counter hit, which then allows you to start your offense. When it comes to the second win condition, when you're at steady aim, you should know all of your options coming at a steady aim. For example, you should know how many gunshots you should be able to get off before your concentration is depleted, and you have to do it. For me, what I like to do is 2 gunshots into recharging my concentration, and then from there I can decide to either pull my gun out or not. But here it's really important to get used to that flow of playing red light, green light with your opponent, because you're either going to shoot an extra time, or shoot one time and reload, or shoot one time and get your concentration back. But overall, getting used to that component of playing red light, green light when you're at steady aim is going to be really important. To do a fast reload with Happy Chaos, all you have to do is to go from steady aim into reload. At the moment that he finished unloading the first bullet or reloading the first bullet, you immediately cancel that back into steady aim. A good way to think about this is to treat your full screen steady aim sequences as basically full screen combos. So even though you're not comboing your opponent to death or anything, you're doing a sequence of moves. For example, you could do gunshot concentration, gunshot, gunshot, concentration. Or you can do gunshot reload, gunshot reload. Just having these sequences built into your muscle memory already is going to make it so much easier to maximize how much value you can get out of that space that you have for that time that you have it. As a Happy Chaos player, it's going to be up to you to stay creative when it comes to how you switch between these two. An example of this would be if you're playing against a player that really respects your steady aim stance by standing still too much. What you can do is go into steady aim and then cancel into curse, which is going to make it so your reticle locks on faster. From that stance, after throwing curse, you're going to be left at the ready, which allows you to run down your opponent while shooting. So it's going to lock them in place as they're blocking your bullets, and that's allowing you to get in and now making them block whatever you have. This is a strategy that's only working because of the fact that they respected steady aim too much and they got hit with curse. Because they got hit with curse, now you're able to freely use that at the ready stance in a way that you normally can't in neutral. This is just to show you how you can intricately switch between your two playstyles when it comes to how your opponent is playing you. And this is what Happy Chaos Kit really excels at. If you guys enjoyed this video, you should consider checking out my other video, The Main Way Fighting Games Mimic Real Life. and subscribing to the channel so you can catch up on other videos that I may have coming out. We're currently on our way to 1K, so any support is really appreciated, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.